Tell me a little bit about Shawn.
Absolutely. Shawn was my oldest son, born 5 pounds 6 ounces. A smile that would light up a room. Just always had the confidence that said there was nothing you couldn't do. He believed that there was, if you wanted to do it, you could do it. He would say to me all the time, I've seen you turn pennies into dollars. There's nothing you can't do. And his ambition in life was that he wanted to own his own business. He had created his own logo. Then his son, Jeremy was the light of his life, and Shawn was Jeremy's hero. And so growing up, it was life. That's what it was. It was us and life. Did we get it right all the time? No, absolutely not. But I did the best I could with what I had. So in my household, I taught respect. That's what I taught. And when you stepped outside of my household, you were supposed to carry that with you. But if you didn't, that was a choice that you made. And I would tell Shawn often that there are always consequences to your actions, good or bad. There is a consequence. So you make the right choices. Shawn was just large in life, loved life.
In many ways, he's larger than life, right?
Absolutely, large in life. Could go somewhere and someone would be sad, and immediately he had the ability to change that for him.
And he was 6'8", too.
6'7".
6'7".
Yeah, 6'7", yeah. So he was 6'7", and I remember him growing up, and he was getting taller than me, and he was like, I'm getting taller than you. I said, does that have a meaning? What do you mean by that? He says, I'm just getting taller than you. I said, you're exactly right. So that just means you're getting taller. And he was just a joy. He had his own issues that he had to deal with, but overall, he was my boy.
What did he love?
Basketball and playing games and hanging out with kids, and he loved to laugh, loved to joke, absolutely loved to joke, was a joker all the time. But his heart was of an encourager. He would whoever was sad. I remember one young lady saying, this guy walked up to my car and I was just sitting out there and I was crying, and he knocked on the window. He said, are you okay? And she said, yeah, I'm fine. He said, well, I can buy you lunch. And she was like, no, I'm okay. And when she was telling me, she was describing him. I said, oh, you're describing my son. She said, that wasn't your son. I said, yeah, that was him. And so that's what he did. He would sit on the side porch with his friends, and they would just come and tell him what was going on. And in the midst of that, later on, he was laughing and joking, and the whole side porch was having fun.
And he loved kids.
Loved kids. Loved kids.
Tell me how the impact he had in the community with the children.
Yeah. So he became a coach to most of the kids. He made sure that kids understood that they were important. He gave them whatever he had, if it was buying them candy or, just hanging out with them. That's what he did. He wanted them to know that they deserved the best. And he wanted to make sure that he was part of giving them the best. So.
Why do you think that was so important to him?
I think because as a kid, I tried to show him love. And he saw a lot of things that a lot of kids that didn't have what he had. I remember his friends always saying, your mom takes y'all everywhere. And the house would be full of kids, and they would come over and just, laughing and joking and never wanted to leave. Because one thing about kids, they like security. They like stability. And Shawn, you wake up and there would be kids everywhere. Do these parents know these kids are here, Shawn? Yeah, we told them they were coming over, but you didn't tell me. But it was okay, because they knew that here was safety, here was security. And so, yeah.
Let's talk about 2014.
Yes.
Let's talk about how you found out. Was it a phone call? Did someone knock on your door? What happened that day?
I was actually on the phone with a friend in Texas, and I remember I was fixing hamburgers. And I was back in the kitchen, and I heard a knock. like a really loud knock, the neighbor from across the street. And I was like, who is this knocking like that? And it was the neighbor across the street. And she said, Shawn has been shot. I was like, what? Shawn has been shot. Come and go with me. Go with me. And she was telling me the address of where to go and where he was. And I'm thinking, she didn't say shot. There's no way she said shot. Maybe Shawn was beat up, but not shot. And so in that moment, you move in slow motion because you don't want to connect the dots. You don't want to connect the fact that someone just said your oldest son was just shot. So I went back in, I turned off the stove, I got my keys, and I'm still thinking, there's no way she said that. It's a misunderstanding. News travels and people get stuff mixed up. And I'm still going, even if he's shot, I said, okay, let's say he was shot. Maybe he's shot where maybe, they can patch him up and I can bring him home. I can do that. That's not an issue. Maybe he's going to be paralyzed. I can live with that. But to hear murdered, that wasn't connected. Shot and murdered were not two words that were connecting. So I got in my car, I drove to the location that she told me to drive to, and I saw the ambulance when it went past, but it didn't register. And the young lady said, he just left in the ambulance. And I said, okay. So I got back in my car and I followed the ambulance. Now, it wasn't until later on that I realized that there were no lights flashing on the ambulance.
Oh, wow.
Because when there are no lights, that means there's no life. But that didn't register because I'm thinking, he's okay. He's okay. This is just whatever it is. Get to the hospital, go in through the emergency room, go up to the window. The ladies, and I said, I'm Brenda Moss. I'm Shawn Moss' mother, and I'm here to see him. And she says, we don't have a Shawn Moss. I said, I'm sorry, what? I said, I'm Brenda Moss. The ambulance just brought him in. I'm his mother, and I'm here to see him. We don't have a Shawn Moss, and you need to move away from the window.
You're joking me.
So I step away from the window, and literally there's no one in the waiting room. No one. So I step over to the side, and I'm still thinking, if he's paralyzed, I can take care of him. If he's shot, they're going to operate and they're going to fix it. I said, I can do anything, I promise, but I cannot go in that room and they tell me my boy's gone. Mm-hmm. So I step over to the side, and it was like literally people from everywhere came into that waiting room. I don't know where they came from. It was full instantly. So I'm standing there, and my nephew is asking me, first of all, where's Keith? I said, I don't know where Keith is. And then he's saying, well, what are they doing? I said, they won't tell me. They said he's not here. So we're just standing there waiting to hear something. And about maybe an hour, a nurse comes through the door and she says, you all can come back. And I look around like, who is you all? You all can come back. Who is you all? Because she doesn't give a name or anything. So I just step forward and I'm like, are you talking to the family of Shawn Moss? And she was like, yes, you all can come back. So she takes us to this room, the waiting area. And in my mind, I'm playing the vision of on TV where you see the doctors come in and they got their scrubs on and they got blood all over them and they gonna tell you what would happen. And I'm still thinking I can do it all, but I cannot hear that he's gone. That I can't do. We wait about another 20 minutes. And I knew instantly when they came, there was another gentleman behind them. I knew exactly who it was. It was the chaplain. I just knew it. And the doctor, well, we have to tell you he's gone. I said, he's gone where? He didn't make it. And now my TJ is in the room with me and my niece, and the room explodes with hysterical crying. But I can't break because someone has to hear what's next. And he says, he didn't make it. And we were like, okay, so we get to see him. No, you can't see him because his body has now become a homicide. That's my boy. What do you mean a homicide? What do you mean? We don't want you to contaminate the evidence. That's my boy. He's not evidence to me. Well, you can't see him and you'll be escorted over to talk to the detectives. Talk to the detectives about what? I don't even know what's going on myself. Whisked away over to another room to talk to detectives. What happened? Who did this? Do you know who did it? Do you know who might have done it? Who's his friends? Where was he at? What did he have on? What was he doing over there? And I'm thinking, you and many others don't understand that my boy will never breathe again. And I don't even know what happened. I don't know why I'm here having to hear this. Well, we just need to get all the answers we can get. And I said, I don't have any answers. I said, you're asking the wrong person. I don't have any answers. So they talk for a few more minutes and tell me, well, you're released to go. What do you mean released to go? What do you mean? Okay. So I go out and now the parking lot is full of people. It was a lot. And so I come home and it's still not registering. It just doesn't register. I'm waiting to hear the next morning, Shawn tried to tiptoe up the stairs to look in my room to see if I'm okay. I didn't hear it. Now reality is beginning to set in. He's not coming back. And my question is, what human would take the life of another human with 17 bullets? Where does your mind have to go in order for you to say one bullet wasn't enough, so I'm going to use 16 more? Incomprehensible. I don't, where does your mind have to go to do that? Where do you have to literally go in your mind to stand over top of another human being and do that? And my question to the detectives was, what kind of gun shoots 17 times? Because I'm not aware of that. I'm used to the rifleman and that's what but 17 times? What kind of gun does that? And so you go through the motions. You make the funeral plans. And you listen to the people talk. And you hear the silence by yourself. And you get the phone call from the person that does the autopsy. And they say, because they're so overwhelmed, they say, this is the most horrific autopsy that I have ever done.
The medical examiner told you that?
Yep.
Wow.
And they said, I've never seen anything like this. And you have to hear all of that. And I was alone when I heard all of that. So I'm doing all this by myself. Then you go through what someone else is saying and what the people on the news are saying and what people in the community are saying. And we understand that cases have to be built. But what I was determined to do was not allow you to build the wrong case against my son. Period. Was he on a pedestal? Absolutely not. But you are not going to drag him either, because he's my boy. He didn't always get it right. None of us have. So we're going to get it right. When we're reporting the news, we're going to report it right. They were not cousins at all. They were not. You're not. It was so amazing to me that they were getting all this information, and I kept saying, how are they getting information and haven't asked me anything? And so I finally asked the detective, I said, who are you talking to? And he said, well, we've been talking to, such and such a person, because we thought that they were his mother. I'm sorry, what?
That young man proudly told everyone, this is my mom.
Right. Absolutely. And so this is the things you have to work through with the justice system. You have to figure out what to say, what not to say, who to say it to, where to get the information, who to give the information to. And you're still being bombarded with questions you don't have answers to. And then you go through talking to the lawyer of Shawn, and you see a book this big with the information on the person that shot him. And he says, this is not the only book.
Do you say to yourself, why he not behind bars?
Right, because he had shot someone before. This wasn't his first time. He had done it before. And he meant to do exactly what he did. He meant it. For whatever reason, he meant it. Whether it was for him to believe that he could get away with it again, or whether it was for him to prove to other people how big he was, he meant to do what he did. Because when you say something to me like, I didn't want to kill Shawn, I wanted to kill Keith, but one Moss is just as good as the other one.
When you heard that, the disregard for life, like you said, who empties 17 bullets into a person? But it wasn't even the person they were going after.
Was not. And you literally believed that you would get away with it because you had gotten away with it before. You literally believed that there was going to be no one that was going to challenge you. But you didn't know about Shawn's mama. You had no idea how much his mom loved him and would go to bat for him. You messed with the wrong mama. You messed with the wrong son. And you will answer for what you did. And I meant it. I didn't care what I had to do. I was in here days upon days. God, whoever you got to get them. I don't care who it is. Make them pay.
How long did it take for an arrest?
I think he ran for about 3 or 4 months. And he had people moving him around and, And then those people, what were you all thinking? What was in your mind that you thought it was okay for you to help someone that had taken someone's life? How does that register in your mind? Because you're just as guilty as he is. In my mind, you're just as guilty as he is. And you have no regard for life. So they finally found him. And even before they found him, he was hid in the bushes where he shot Shawn and watched the whole thing play out. And then you ran. Watched the whole thing play out, and then you ran.
How did they miss that?
I have no idea. but they did. So we go to trial, and the day of the trial, Jeremy, Shawn's son, didn't go to court. And I said, Jeremy, is it anything you want me to tell the court? Anything at all? He says, yes. Make sure that they know that this man took my hero.
He's probably a hero to a lot of other people, a lot of other kids too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The outpour of the community that came here and told me so many stories about Shawn. Shawn was doing stuff that I didn't even know he was doing. But the community, the lady across the street here, she said, I would time myself by Shawn because I had to be to work at a certain time. And if I saw Shawn, I knew exactly what time it was because he was coming here to get his son to get him on the bus. And she said, if I didn't see him, she said, I was either late or he was late. So, yeah.
How old was Jeremy during the trial?
I think Jeremy was 12, 13. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel like justice was served?
I don't think there is justice for something like that. I think what was served was punishment because you have to be held accountable for what you do. I don't think there's justice for murder because you've taken a life and there's nothing that's going to replace the fact that you took someone loved one. You took them without permission because you felt whatever it was you felt. Justice, that's what they call it, but that's not what it is. Because every day I live this. Every day I get up and push forward and wonder some days, what would Shawn be doing? How would he be doing it? Where would he be doing it? When you take a life, you take dreams. And dreams were taken. Not just from me, from his brothers, from his son, from his cousins, his aunts, his uncle. Dreams were taken. He didn't get to see Jeremy graduate. He won't get to see Jeremy's kids. All because you felt like it was okay to take a life. It's not okay. That's why I don't allow people to say, you lost your loved one. I didn't lose him. I know where he is. His life was taken. It was taken by evil. Pure and simple. Evil.
You know, this happened almost 10 years ago, 9 years ago. And the problem's not getting any better. And you have certainly been on the forefront trying to make a difference. Talk to me about that.
We have to decide we want better. If I had not decided that I wanted Shawn to get some kind of justice, I don't believe justice would have been given. I don't believe it. I had to decide that Shawn's life was worth more than what that young man made it out to be. I had to decide to say, listen, you don't want to go through this pain. You do not want to wake up with this and have to work through it because it's devastating. Some people don't make it through it. Some people don't get up. I chose to get up because I remember Shawn always saying, there's nothing you can't do. And I would not honor Shawn by being in a depression. That's not honor. Being mad at the young man that did it, that's not honoring Shawn. Honoring Shawn is doing what I'm doing right now. Speaking out. Saying, once you make the decision to pull that trigger, there's no going back. There is no going back. It's done. And not only do you destroy the lives of some people, you destroy the lives of your own family. And you have to decide, is it worth it? It's really not. It's not. We have to do something different. You know, I've heard people say, well, we need more guns. No, we don't. We do not need more guns. We need more people with solutions like, where are the resources for the Black community? That's what we need. We need people to stand up and say, this community doesn't get everything that they need. We need to stop saying Black on Black crime when we have school shootings with white people. We got to stop saying that. It's gun violence, period. It doesn't have to have a color, doesn't have to have a gender, but it is gun violence that needs to stop. And universal background checks would help that. We get up in arms. Well, I don't need you to background check me. Well, you get background checked when you go on the job. You need a license to drive a car. Why? And if you are okay, if you're being honest, why not do it? You're taking away my rights. I'm not taking away your rights at all. I don't want your rights. I want you to be responsible for the choice that you make. And if that means universal background checks, then that's what that means.
Is that the word you've been trying to spread? What do you feel like you have been trying to do in the last 9 years to combat gun violence in honor of Shawn?
One of the things that I've been trying to do is to bring resources to communities that are most highly affected, which are the Black and brown communities. I try to sit before people like you and say, listen, this is beginning to be an epidemic. How are we going to fix it? Because if bringing more guns was the answer, why is it still going on? Guns in the wrong hands is only going to cause tragedy. And when you see these young people with these guns, they really don't understand what they're doing. They have no clue. They believe that they can take it, do what they need to do, and then say, oh, okay, well, now stop playing with me. No, it doesn't work like that. That's your life gone. You may still be breathing, but your life is gone. Just like the life that you took is gone.
You also started a foundation in Shawn's honor.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
It's the Shawn Moss Wellness and Growth Foundation. It was formed out of the love that Shawn has for children. So we are trying to bring resources like education. We're trying to bring entrepreneurship, because these are words that most Black families don't hear. Entrepreneurship, we're taught to get a job and, you know, get up, go to work, come home, get up, go to work, come home. But when you can show them that there's another way, then that offers them better opportunity. When we can get resources where they are able to go to college and don't have to worry about a college loan, that makes better sense than putting them in college and now they have this enormous fee that they have to hanging over their head and they can't get ahead. It doesn't make sense to ask a mother of 4 to get a job and pay for daycare, and her job only pays her minimum wage. So what's the point? But if we can get her that extra education, then she can start to build from there. Not everyone wants to be in poverty. They don't. But they need help. They need help with trying to get out of poverty. And that's what we need to do. We do those things, and then every year we have the angel tree. And what we do is we try to support families, whole families. And that's another part of it. You have to treat the whole family and not part of the family. So every year we treat the whole family, from mom to dad to all the kids. Everybody gets a wish list. And we set up this big event, and they can come. We give them food, we give them clothing, we give them whatever they need on their wish list. We do our best to get it for them. And so that is the big event that we do. And that's the time of the year when I see Shawn smiling the most, is at the angel tree. When you see the kids running around and playing the games. And our theme one year was, last year was Under the Big Top. So we set it up like a carnival. And to see the kids playing the games and winning prizes, it wasn't always big stuff, but just to win made them light up. And that's what we want to do. We want to fix it so people win, so that they know that they're valued, so that they know that they have something to offer in this world. And it's not all bad. It's not all bad. But when that's what we've shown, what we're shown, then that's what we begin to believe. So me, I try to change the perspective. I try to change the way things look. I try to change the way kids look at things. When you go into the recreation centers, and we took basketballs to every recreation center, and the kids were like, so you're not going to take these from us? You are really going to give us new basketballs? I said, yes. That's what makes a kid light up, because they've had so much taken. Some kids have had so much taken that they don't know how to receive. And they want to make sure that when you give them something this time, that it's theirs. They can hold on to it.
You know, 9 years, you would hope that we had made some progress, but we, like you said, we're hitting epidemic.
Yeah.
When it comes to gun violence in our own community.
In our own community.
Where do you think we're going wrong? How are we going to get this right?
Somebody needs to sit down and talk to somebody. Because if no one's talking and everybody has ideas, nothing's going to get done. You have to talk to people that have experienced the experience to understand what it's like. If it was a thing in my world, this is what would happen. When I was going through my process, I had wished that someone was there to walk with me through it. To say, this is why the police have to act the way that they act. And this is why they have to move the way that they move. And this is why the hospital has to say what they say. Or for someone to call and say, are you okay? Do you need anything? None of that happened. And even after the trial, the lawyers don't call. The trial is over, we're done. They don't call, they don't say, it was an honor to walk with you through this process. None of that. So in my world, if there was an advocate for the families, where the police would come in and say, we understand in that moment, it was tough, but we had to do our job. But we don't want you to feel as if we didn't care. And I cannot take anything from the Lynchburg Police Department. I cannot. They were amazing. But everybody doesn't get that treatment. And everybody doesn't understand. If there were groups, if there was grief counseling, that would help. These are the things you need to put in place. Trauma is real. It is very real. And if you don't have someone to talk to, you may not make it through.
We also talked about this epidemic being a generational thing as well. Just kids are being raised differently.
Yep. Yeah.
You're a different mom than some of the moms coming up.
Yeah, I'm a different mom.
What do parents need to do to stop this? We were having 16-year-olds shot and killed 2 weeks ago. Several were arrested just this week. Yeah. 16-year-olds with stolen guns. Yeah. How do we get through?
Parents have to be parents. You can't be friends. You have to take responsibility. You have to say, this is not going to happen in my home. I can say that in my home, but I can't say that in your home. I have to take responsibility for my home. And you can say whatever you want to say. People can, you know what's going on in your child's life. You may not know exactly, but you know when something is off. And you have to be a parent that says, not on my watch. Not in my neighborhood. And stop making excuses. Stop making excuses. It's where I live. It's not where you live. It's the choices you make. That's the difference. It's the choices you make. People, not everyone in certain areas do the things that people are doing. So it's not where you live. It's the choices that you make. And you have a choice in everything you do up until you make the decision to choose the choice.
Kind of like the people who hid the man who murdered Shawn.
Yeah. And you have to answer for that. You have to. And if you can live with that, that's on you. But as for being Shawn's mom, I can't let that happen.
When we're talking about this epidemic, especially among young people, do you feel like in the last 9 years, Shawn would have been a part of finding an answer, especially because of his love of children?
I believe he would have been. Like I said, he had his own issues, but kids was his motivation. And I believe he would have done his best to steer kids in a different direction. And do we need mentors? Yes. Do we need men and women both to step up? Absolutely. What happened to the village? Because when I was growing up, everyone in my neighborhood knew exactly where I was if I was sent to the store. And if I went in any other direction, my mom was getting a phone call. Where are your kids? What are they doing? Who are they staying with? Who are they hanging out with? Parents, what are you going to do about it? Because I'm telling you, when you're sitting in that courtroom and a decision has to be made and the judge makes that decision and it's not in your favor, you're not going to like it. So before you get there, make the change now.
Bring back the village.
Bring back the village. Bring back the village. Bring back respect. Stop with the, you don't tell my child what to do. Somebody has to, because you're not. There are people out here that care about your children. They're not trying to hurt them. They care about them. And respect is a part of caring.
I think that's it.
Okay.